Hey babe, you remember the time you lost your job? If your spouse's paycheck disappeared tomorrow, would your whole life fall apart? Ours didn't, and I'm gonna show you how to make sure yours doesn't either. I'll also tell you the psychology of why most people can't do what we did. That means 8 out of 10 people watching this right now would be in crisis mode if they lost their job tomorrow. We're not in that 87%, and you don't have to be either. Let's talk about what's happening right now. In 2026, we're seeing layoffs across industries. Tech companies, finance, retail, healthcare. It's not just one sector, it's everywhere. If you're sitting there thinking it won't happen to me, that's exactly what everyone thinks until it does. Here's what happens to most people when a job disappears. Immediate panic. Survival mode kicks in. You're scrambling to cut expenses, fighting with your spouse about money, applying to any job just to stop the bleeding. Why? Because most couples are living on 2 incomes with 0 margin. You need both paychecks to cover rent, to cover groceries, to cover daycare, to cover everything. Which means losing one income isn't just stressful, it's a threat to your survival. You make desperate decisions. You take the first offer even if it's wrong for you. In your relationship, it takes the biggest hit. So let me take you back to 2022. My husband and I were dating at the time. He was living in New York City. I was living in St. Louis, and we decided he would move here, which meant we needed to find an apartment together. And we had a conversation that would change everything. We were looking at apartments and we were making roughly the same amount of money at the time. So the obvious thing would have been for us to look at apartments we could afford based on our combined income, right? But I remember thinking, what if something happens? What if one of us loses our job? What if there's an emergency? So we made an agreement. We would rent an apartment based on one income, not both, one. If we could each cover the full rent with our own salary, then we would be fine no matter what. And anything extra will go towards building our future. Savings, debt payoffs, investments. Most people will call that being paranoid. We call that being intentional. And here's the thing, we didn't do it because we knew he would lose his job. We did it because we wanted to build a life that couldn't be destroyed by something out of our control. Now, as a financial therapist to couples, I see this pattern all the time. People know they should live below their means. They know they should have an emergency fund, but they don't. Why? Because there's no immediate threat. The crisis hasn't happened, so the urgency isn't there. It's something called optimism bias. Optimism bias is the tendency to believe that bad things are less likely to happen to us than to others, until it does happen. And by then, it's too late to build the system. The people who survive crises aren't lucky. They're prepared. And preparation happens when things are calm, not when things are falling apart. So back to 2022. We had been living on one income for about 8 months. He calls me one day while I'm at work and he says, "I think they're going to let me go today." And I remember waiting for the panic to hit, the fear, the, oh my God, what are we going to do? But it didn't come. Instead, I said, okay, we're fine. And I meant it. Not because I'm some Zen master that doesn't feel stress, but because we've been living this way already. We'd agreed to rent an apartment based on one income's worth of expenses, not our combined income. So we were each contributing to rent, to bills, to groceries, but the total amount, it was what one of us could afford alone if we needed to. And anything beyond that, his extra income had been going to savings and paying off his New York City condo. My extra income was building my savings, which would later be combined with his after we got married. So we'd already been living like one paycheck could disappear. So when it did, our day-to-day life didn't change at all. And I got engaged a month later, because apparently job loss is very romantic. All right, so here's the actual system. Not principles, not advice, the actual mechanical infrastructure that makes it impossible to fail, even when life goes wrong. And I'm gonna show you not just what it looks like, but why most people can't stick to it and how you can build it starting tomorrow. We have 2 accounts, joint checking, joint savings. Joint checking covers all household expenses, rent, utilities, groceries, subscriptions, everything we spend. Joint savings is for our emergency fund first, then sinking funds like baby expenses, travel, whatever we're saving for specifically. Here's the key. We're married, so we now have joint accounts. When we were dating, everything was separate. We didn't even have joint accounts for the household expenses. We each kept our own checking and savings account and we split the bills. And I need to say this. If you're not married, don't get joint accounts. I don't care how serious the relationship is. Keep your money separate until you're legally married, period. Here's how money moves through the system. and how it evolved over time. I already mentioned that while we were dating, we had separate accounts. We were both making roughly around the same amount of money, and although we were splitting all of our bills and the rent and the groceries evenly, the total amount that we were spending was equivalent to only one of our incomes. After we got married, that's when we opened our joint accounts. And even though we combined all of our money in one shared account, we still lived on one income. Today, almost 3 years later, the system scaled again. I left my W-2 job to focus full-time on my private practice. Right now, about 90% of his paycheck goes to our checking account for all of our household expenses. 10% goes to savings, plus whatever's left when the next paycheck hits. And my income from my private practice, it stays in the business. I'm not taking a salary yet. I'm reinvesting to grow it. So we're literally living on his W-2 income alone. The system that we stress tested while we were dating is the same system we're using now. Your life changes, your income changes, your circumstances change, but the system is solid. It just adapts. The agreements. The emergency fund is untouchable. When I say emergency, I don't mean holiday shopping, last-minute trips, or this is really a good deal. I mean survival-level emergencies. Something that puts your basic needs at risk. If you could wait a month and still be okay, it's not an emergency. Agreement number 2. New expenses wait until the monthly meeting. If someone wants something, a new wardrobe, new gadget, new whatever, it waits until the next monthly meeting. No impulse decisions. We talk about it, decide together, then execute. Agreement number 3, monthly meetings are non-negotiable. Once a month, we sit down and we review everything. We look at what we spent, what's coming up, and what needs to be adjusted. This is the heartbeat of the system. Most couples avoid talking about money because it's stressful. We schedule it. It's on the calendar. And when things go wrong, like a job loss, we don't stop the meetings. We actually double down on them. That's what kept us stable when he lost his job. We didn't panic because we were still having those conversations. Our budget app is linked to our accounts, so our tracking is automatic. We can see in real time if we're close to going over a budget in any category. If we're close to the red line in a category, we talk about it. Maybe we underestimated that expense. Maybe we missed something. Either way, we decide together. Do we pull money from another category, or do we stop spending in that particular category and reassess next month? The system tells us when it's breaking. We don't have to guess. Now, here's why most people can't do this even when they know they should. I work with couples and I hear this all the time. We can't afford to live on one income. Yes, you can. You just can't afford your current lifestyle on one income. Most people let lifestyle inflation eat every raise, every bonus, every increase. Then they wonder why 2 incomes feel as tight as one. I don't want to feel restricted. The system doesn't restrict you. It clarifies what you can actually afford. Restrictions actually come from not having a system. Monthly meetings sound like a chore. They are. I'm not gonna lie to you. And you do them anyway, because the alternative is way worse. Fighting about money in the moment, making decisions out of fear, wondering if you're okay. We'd rather spend 30 minutes once a month being intentional than spend every day stressed out about money. How to start tomorrow. If you want to build this system, here's where to start. Open 2 accounts, checking for expenses, savings for goals. If you're married, make them joint. If you're not, keep them separate. Direct deposit into checking first. Once checking covers all expenses, route the rest to savings automatically. Schedule your first monthly money meeting. Put it on the calendar. All you need is 30 minutes. Review what you spend, what's coming up, and what needs to be adjusted. That's it. That's the system. It's not sexy, it's not complicated, but it works. And when life goes wrong, when someone loses a job, when an emergency hits, you're not scrambling. You're executing a system you already built. When my husband lost his job, here's what didn't happen. We didn't stop our monthly money meetings. He didn't panic apply to random jobs. We didn't fight about money, and we didn't have to touch the emergency fund. Here's what did happen. We kept having our monthly conversations, and we actually did them more frequently. I redirected my income to the joint checking account after we got married. We kept living our normal life. We even started saving for a wedding reception party that we had 6 months after we got married. That last one, saving for a party during a crisis, that was proof alone that the system worked. We had margin, and margin is everything. Most people are one layoff away from crisis. We weren't, and you don't have to be either. Now, here's the part I do want you to know. Our plan didn't go perfectly. He found a job a few months later. It seemed like it was the right fit. It was a good company, good role, good pay. We thought, great, crisis over. But it actually wasn't the right fit. The culture was off for him and the work just wasn't fulfilling. And within a year, he was looking again. But here's the thing. Because we had space, because we had margin, he could be strategic. He could say no to the wrong opportunities and keep looking for the right ones. And now he's somewhere he absolutely loves. That's what systems do. They don't make life perfect, but they do give you space to pivot when things don't go according to plan. Here's what I wish someone had told me earlier. Financial security isn't actually about the money. Yes, you need a system. Yes, you need an emergency fund. Yes, you need the discipline. But what you're really building is freedom. Freedom to make decisions based on what's right, not what's urgent. Freedom to take risks because you have a foundation. Freedom to live your life on your terms instead of reacting to whatever crisis comes next. Here's what I want you to do right now. Don't try and build the whole system today. Just do one thing. Open your bank account and calculate how many months you can survive on your current savings. That's it, just one number. That number is your baseline. Because here's the reality. Layoffs are happening everywhere right now. Economic uncertainty isn't going away, and most people are waiting for the crisis to happen before they prepare. That's not a strategy, that's a gamble. From years of working with couples as a financial therapist, a year from now, something is going to go wrong. Maybe it's a job loss, maybe it's a medical emergency, maybe it's something that you can't even predict right now. And when it does, you're going to have one of two experiences. You'll either panic, scramble, and wonder how you're going to survive, or you'll take a look at your bank account, take a deep breath, and realize that you're going to be fine. Which one do you want to be? If you want to build a system and talk to your spouse about it or about anything money related, check out my previous videos.